Hello,
Hi.
how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for willing to do this, Courtney.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's what I do. You know, I've been wanting to say this to you, Courtney, but I've been getting to know more about you since those characters that you get to play as in the show that you did 1 year ago called Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. And
Yeah.
since that, which I actually made a video about it, which I
Oh,
included
cool.
you in there in my
hmm
YouTube channel, Seba's Voiceover World. And
hmm
since that, I've been getting to know more about you and your voice acting that you have done throughout the years. And that's
hmm
why I begin to notice that you are best friends with the one person I've interviewed with in March who is a big fan of me. The name Jennifer Sunbell, who I've
Oh,
got to
yeah.
interview with. She's a huge fan of me, and my YouTube channel, and I did a lot of videos for her, which she actually thanked me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's why she even requested me to interview you, and
Oh, really?
so that way I can get to know you so well just as she did. And well,
Very
I
cool.
took her request and did the impossible.
Excellent.
Yeah, of course. But anyway, I have many questions I've been wanting to ask you.
Sure.
Tell me, how is it like being a voice actor in many animated shows?
Sure. Well, it's definitely a dream come true. Sometimes I still have a hard time believing that I get to do what I do, just because, the industry is very, very competitive. It's especially hard to break in. Um, but, to be where I am now, honestly, I'm just really proud of myself. Like when I was first starting out, there were a lot of people who told me like, oh, like, don't do it. It's too hard, like find something more stable, that sort of thing, which can be discouraging, for a young new actor. Um, didn't listen to any of them. Decided that I was going to commit myself to an acting career and what that could look like long term. And, you know, a lot of things ended up aligning for me. But what stayed consistent, was the drive. It took me 7 years to get my first bigger break in. For some people it takes a lot longer. For other people, they book their first job that they audition for, so it's definitely a range, but they say it can take more than 10 years to break into an industry, so you have to really really love the work. So I think it's just so freaking cool that I get to be in animated shows. Animation is my favorite genre of voiceover. I want to do animation until I kick the bucket. So yeah, it's really awesome getting to do lots of animated projects.
I see. So that's what you like about being a voice actor, which leads me to the most important question. How did you get into voice acting, and what is it that really got you right there? For what purpose?
Sure. A few things sort of led me to voice acting. I grew up um in a household, like my dad wasn't around and my mom worked a lot to support us. So I was home alone a lot growing up, which sounds sad, but it wasn't. I had the best time being alone. I read a lot of books. I was really into fantasy. I played a lot of video games and I watched a lot of cartoons. So I've always been a big fan of the medium. I just, in my little child brain, did not realize that this could be like a job. It was just something that was fun to do. But my whole life, my family told me, oh, you should be a lawyer or a doctor. Lawyer, the classic, they're Asian. So everything is lawyer or doctor or engineer. Um, and so I grew up thinking I was going to become a doctor. And so when I went to college, I was majoring in psychology and neuroscience. I was on a pre med track. My plan was to apply to grad school when I finished. But two things happened when I was in college. The first one being, at the time I was doing competitive hip hop dance, and so I also wanted to continue dancing while I did a medical career because I just love dancing. I knew dancing, for me at least, didn't feel like a long term thing. I was like, well, a lot of dancers end up retiring in their 30s. That's not really like a lifelong thing, but being a doctor could be a lifelong thing. But in college, I suffered a really bad back injury before a competition, and I had to go to the hospital. It was a whole thing. I had to do physical therapy to rehab my ability to walk again. And so I was like, okay, well, dance retiring at 30, it's probably going to be much sooner because I had a bad back. My discs in my lumbar region were starting to fuse because of I was dancing like 40 plus hours a week on top of college schedule for classes, on top of work. I was working 3 jobs at the time as well. And so it was too hard on my body. I couldn't do it anymore. And then two, the second thing that happened was I was working in a rat lab at my college, and I worked there for a summer, and I quickly realized how much I dislike research. Because I was like, well, when you go into the medicine field, you go into research or you go into some sort of, you know, customer facing thing where you're their doctor, or you're doing surgery, or you're taking care of someone. So those are like the two routes. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll do research. Quickly learned I didn't like research. I did not like working in a rat lab. Love rats, love animals, did not like what happens to animals when you work in a medical setting. It's just a reality of the industry. I was like, I can't do this for my life. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'll just be like a regular doctor. I'll just, I can take care of people. Like, I like that, I like the idea of healing people and stuff. And then I thought really long and hard about it, and I was like, well, like, what if I become surgeon and then like someone like dies on my table? Because that happens, right? Like, people, if you're operating on people, like, things happen in hospital settings. Or you're working with a patient, and like, something goes wrong when they're under your care. I was like, well, for me as a person, I am very emotional, and if you had, like, let's say you had cancer, right? And then I had to tell you had cancer, I would be crying while I did it, and like, I would need to be comforted. I'm like, that's not the situation. Like, the doctor shouldn't be the one who needs to be comforted. It should be the patient, right? So I was like, maybe medicine is not maybe my whole life I've had the wrong idea of medicine. And so when I finished college, instead of applying to med school, I was like, if I can't dance and I can't do med school, maybe, what other like artsy thing? And I was like, well, I'm in LA. Why don't I take an acting class? Because it's artsy, it's performative like dance, but it's less hard on the body. And like, I'm in LA, and that, everyone in LA takes an acting class. And so I did that. And then I just sort of never stopped. And while pursuing an on-camera career, because that's what I was interested in, voiceover was not on my radar. I was like, oh, doing on camera. I was working on a web series, and I forgot how it got brought up, but somehow voiceover got brought up, and I was talking to the DP about it, and the DP was like, well, my mom's a voiceover coach. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, he was like, do you want her number? I was like, sure, I'll take her number. I was a little overwhelmed with the idea of voiceover because I was like, well, I'm spending so much money on acting classes already, making ends meet. Like, voiceover is like another genre. It's like a whole other skill you have to learn. But he was like, oh, just talk to my mom. I was like, sure. And then I got into my first voice acting class that way. And through that class, it's like 6 months later, way before I was ready, accidentally stumbled into my first agency, and then kept doing that until till I am where I am now. That's how I got into voiceover. It's a very long-winded answer, but those are all the factors.
I see. So this is how you got into voice acting because of the things you've been going through college, through all the things that you've been going through over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And and speaking of voice acting class, I've actually I too am a voice actor, and that I recently got signed up very into that Global Voice Acting Academy, the very thing
Oh,
that
great.
you are part of, from which I
Yeah.
saw so far. And and you want to know the best part?
What?
I recently got casted into doing a commercial gig, which I won't tell until I announce it, because
Great.
that's the simple rule about voice acting,
Yes.
of that in order to announce it, you need permission, and when you they get your permission, then you can announce it. Until that
Yes.
time, you just need to learn to be flexible and patient. That's
Yeah.
something I have learned from a class I have taken.
Yeah, it's the hardest part, I think.
Indeed. And
Yeah,
that's why I myself, as a voice actor right now, am just doing my best to just be part of many projects that is yet to come. Since
that's
the,
awesome.
the truth is, I wanted to work with you and Jennifer throughout the entire industry of voice acting, not just to be on TV, so that I can connect with you and her at once, so that I can be friends with them in person. It's
Mm-hmm.
my desire, to do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is my questions about the characters, but it won't be video games because of what you said. It will only be about animation and anime, as I
Great.
told you.
Yeah. So for
But
those of you wondering watching the video, there's a strike going on right now, so I'm gonna
and
refrain from anything video game related.
and that's why I'm gonna talk about anime and animation only.
Great.
But what was your first ever character you got to play as in animation way before you got into others?
In animation, I think the first animated role I ever booked, I recorded maybe 7 episodes. It was supposed to be for YouTube, but it never came out. So I don't know what happened to it. But yeah, it never came out. And then after that, the next animated role that I booked was Monster High. So which is crazy. I had basically no credits when I booked Monster High. But yeah, Monster High. So I voiced Draculaura in the G3 series, the Monster High version that's currently airing on Nickelodeon, and I think it's on Paramount Plus now. But that was actually like the first like animated role that I booked that came out into the world.
I see. So that was your first animated role. To be
Hmm.
honest, I really like to know about what your first ever character you had to play as is, but due to what I told you about, it's just something to just, so that just in case if I ever do a voice showcase for you, like I would
Hmm.
do with Jennifer Sunbell also, I'll just make sure it goes in chronological order to make sure it evolutionizing. Just like I just like I just like I it's all part of my YouTube videos right there.
Oh,
Because
great.
because as I told to Kevin T. Collins that I actually did the video about John Avner through Billy Komet's voices and everyone
Hmm.
else's. It's all part of to make sure they help them be remembered. So
Hmm.
that's my reasoning why I have to know about the first ever character and stuff. So
Hmm.
that's my truth to you. But anyway, in the show Rainbow High, what was your favorite part about playing Heather Grayson?
Oh, um, I love Rainbow High because it's like there's something so like dishy about it. Like the gossip is always very hot and like the fashion is so serious. And Heather Grayson being a student at Shadow High, which is sort of Rainbow High's rival school. So in the first episode, I don't know what season it is, like season 3 or 4, I think. But Shadow High is introduced, and there's this big fashion competition between the two, and I just love how serious it is. It's like the stakes are so high about shoes and accessories, and I think like for all the characters, like the commitment to the high stakes of this like fashion environment, is what makes the show so great. So I think that's what I loved most about like playing Heather and playing into that. And she there's like some parts in the series where she like hosts her own show, and so it's like a show within a show, which is very fun. I think that's my favorite part about Rainbow High.
I see. So that's what you like about playing that character. Because all
Mm-hmm.
I know is that I met some of the actors of that show, which Jennifer was also part of it. I got to
Mhm.
meet Jenny Yokobori, though,
Mhm.
like 1 year ago, and but to put it simply, you being part of it was actually an awesome thing, actually, because your character gets to interact with all those awesome voice actors that I've been beginning to know of for almost 4 years. And
Mhm.
that's what led me to just understand more about it. So
Mhm.
I'm just very glad that whoever brought you in just managed to make things go better for you.
Yes, I'm very grateful.
Yes, indeed. But anyway, how does it feel about playing Karia Habu in Talentless Nina? Nana, I meant.
Um, that was really fun. That was one of the first anime roles I booked that wasn't just like incidental characters. Um and that was also my first role ever that I did with NYAV Post, which was cool. So that's another reason why that role is special to me. Um, the show itself is really good. I don't watch everything I'm in. I did watch Talentless Nana because it's a good show. I really like it. Um, I like shonen animes and I like animes with like magic and like kids, like a school, anything with school with like magic, kids who can do magic. I'm like, that's cool. I like that. I'm into it. Grew up on Harry Potter, okay? Um, but and her power on that show is interesting because she like sucks the venom out of venomous creatures and then can use their venom against people. Um, so yeah, that's why I like that one. And it's special because it's like one of my firsts.
I see. So that's what you like about playing that character. Because all I know is that you did very well playing that character, of course, especially when you were brought in by Michael Nicholas and Stephanie Shea, who in
Mhm.
turn was able to do a good job directing you to getting you alongside Michelle A. Mary
Mhm.
and everybody else. And it's super unique in a way, which the
Mhm.
show is like involving like there is no good nor is there evil. There is only power, power to control fate
Mhm.
itself. And that's something I've just learned from the show so far.
Mhm.
So that's something I've come to understand. But anyway, how is it like being part of Mashiel, Magic and Muscles as Nori Shan?
Um, that one I loved because one, I get to play a boy. And I love playing boys in anime and animation. But two, this character is funny because he's so anxious and he's always having a panic attack about something. He's like the comedic relief mostly in the show. He doesn't have a lot of lines. I'm not in a lot of the show, but when he comes, you can expect a great screamy moment of panic, and it's very fun to play that. And it's fun, especially when he's in the scene with the lead. Like the lead is like so serious and then he comes in and he's there to like panic, so just to be the comedic relief is always really fun.
I see. So that's how you like about being in that show as that character. Because to put it simply, I've actually met some of the actors of that show, who,
Hmm.
including your master, Sean Chiplock, and which I interviewed him 2 years ago. Super nice guy, actually. And
Very cool.
as it turns out, you being part of it will is a very awesome thing right there. But to be honest, I've been reading the manga a lot,
Hmm.
and that eventually over time the show will come back for its another arc right there.
I
And
think so.
and if you're in there, you know who else should be there when you're there?
Hmm.
Jennifer as well, because I imagine her being that character that I've read through the manga, and that's where it had me thinking, boy, if Courtney's in it, so should Jennifer, since it's Jennifer and Courtney forever. So,
Yeah, that'd
so
be awesome.
indeed, and that's something that should happen eventually, especially for Jalen K. Cassell, of course, to understand when the time comes. So that's something I'm beginning to notice. But anyway, how is it like about playing Kurami Kuromi in Kagageri Twin.
Oh yes. Love that show as well. I've never done anything like gambling themed. It was like my first gambling anime. I guess there's a lot out there. But she's so that character is so out of pocket. She like sort of like flirts the line between where it's like you don't really know what her intentions are, and she may flip on you, and so that was an interesting character to get to embody. And I think the original voice actor is really great, and so just sort of like taking what she did. And with anime, when you dub into English, I mean, it depends on the production, but you're really trying to honor the original performance as much as you can. But you do change some things because certain like sounds and words and phrases like work better in certain languages. So, when we dub into English, we change a little bit. Um, so it was really cool getting to like walk that line with that character. And my director on that show, Bill, is he's so fun to work with. I've worked with him a lot on a lot of different anime, and that he loves like horror and like dark content, and like the show is a little dark, and I don't know, he's so passionate about it too. It was really fun working with him on it.
I see. So that's how you like about being in that show. Because all I know is that you did very well playing that character, you know. But you
Thank
know what
you.
else?
Hmm.
Turns out I've got to interview Bill Millsap about
Oh
about a
yeah,
few
you
months
did.
ago,
Oh great,
and
yeah, I love Bill.
he's part of my interviews in my YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Because honest, he's a very good guy right
He
there,
is. He's
and
such a great guy.
and I have this desire of being voice directed by him so that I can just
Yeah,
learn and
everyone should.
understand.
Everyone should. He's great.
Indeed, he is, and that's something I'm beginning to notice right there. But anyway, what's so awesome about playing Riri in Romantic Killer?
That's probably my favorite anime that I've done. Um, because Riri the Wizard is like a chaotic potato in the series, and I got to play opposite Deneen, who plays Anzu in that show, and I thought her performance was incredible. I thought the show, like the main character, her love being like cats, video games, and chocolate. I'm like, wow, that's so relatable. And then my character coming in to sort of flip everything on its head, and try and get her to date. um, and so it was really fun getting to do those scenes opposite Deneen, because I feel like both Riri and Anzu, those characters, again, like 100% commitment. Like when Anzu turns into like crazy beast mode, and we're like fighting, like there's a lot of fighting that happens between us. I'm like whacking her on the head with my wand, and she's like stomping me with her foot. Lots of screaming happening in those sessions. And our director for that show, Kathy, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful director as well. She I did another show with her. It never came out, but in that other show, I also played some like a magical guru sort of character, and so she brought me onto Romantic Killer because she was like, "Oh, like the magical guru, like sort of similar vibes." And like I thought the writing on the show was really funny, and it's such an easy, fun watch, and it's on Netflix for anyone who hasn't seen it. You can watch it on Netflix. But yeah, it's just easy, fun watch, and it was just so fun to do.
That's a very interesting thing I'm beginning to learn from you. Because all I know is that that's so Romantic Killer got to know more about it because of Deneen Melody and her main character, of course, being all being all goofy and stuff. And you
Mm-hmm.
being part of it is just too hilarious when it comes to dealing with a lot of things you're going through. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
something I'm
and
beginning to know.
Riri transforms on the show too. So not only did I voice like Riri the little flying potato wizard, but when Riri turns into a human girl and a human boy, I voiced all three of those versions of Riri.
Well, that's an interesting thing right there. And that's what I'm liking about that. But anyway, what's the most awesome thing when playing Draculaura in Monster High?
I really love how genuine she is. She really cares about her friends. I love in this new iteration, Draculaura's mom is from Taiwan, which is really cool. The show runner and the production team decided to make her really authentic to me after I booked the role, because my mom is also from Taiwan, and so she gets to speak a little bit of Mandarin on the show, which is awesome. And I just love all of the really cool like monster designs on the show, because some of them are like Mattel originals and some of the characters were Nickelodeon originals. And just seeing all the different designs come together, the really cool like fashion and outfits, because Monster High, they're like iconic for the fashion, um, and getting to bring a lot of myself and my identity to the character, just really made her feel authentic. And the performances felt, very connected. And also on that show, like the cast chemistry was wonderful. So sometimes we got to do group records. And so getting to work off of another person live really changed some of the dynamic of the show as well.
Interesting. So that's what you like about being that character. Because all I know is that I'm beginning to know about Monster High. I even met the original voice actress herself, Debbie Derryberry, Jimmy
Mm-hmm.
Neutron. She's
Mm-hmm.
part of my interview, so
Great.
and
She's
also
wonderful.
yes, and also I've got to interview with Darius Johnson, who's also part of it. Very
Also
cool guy,
wonderful.
a
Yeah,
follower of mine, and just liking to taking an interest in me.
he's
So
awesome.
he is indeed. But anyway, what was your favorite part about being the voice of May Emma in Code Geass, Rose of the Recapture?
She's really sweet. She's just trying to do her job and be helpful. And we recorded that series as like on the same schedule, I think, that it was coming out, or like something similar. Like I didn't know what was going to happen at the end, like when I started recording the series. Like none of us did. And when we got to the last episode, I was like, wow. Sorry if this is a spoiler for those of you who haven't seen it, skip ahead 20 seconds, but she survives till the end. I'm like, wow, all these people died and make it to survive. I made it to the last episode, so we'll see. I don't know if there'll be another season, but maybe she'll be around since she lived.
I see. So this is like what you like about playing that character. Because all I know is that Code Geass has been around since 2008
Mm-hmm.
and that everyone got to know about it. Plus, I even met some of the actors of that show, like Gabe
Mm-hmm.
Konda, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and also again Michael Certain Nicholas and Stephanie Shea, and my old friend of mine, David Jordan Chen, did a very good job bringing you in alongside your best friend Jennifer, of course, which
Mm-hmm.
is a very unique turn to see Jennifer being part of NYAV Post dub for the first time. And it's something unexpected that she should do more often, alongside Bang Zoom, and of course, being with you at all times. That is something I wanted you two to do for each other. So that's something I wanted to tell you. But anyway, what's the biggest thing when playing Lao Mao and regular Tradrail in Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Freedom?
I think we spent the most time on Redillard. I think that's how you say her name.
Yeah, Redillard. Yeah.
Yeah, we spent the most time on her. She's just like crazy. She's a little cuckoo. That is a vocally stressful show, which is fine. But she's kind of evil and just really into violence. And I do enjoy chaotic characters. So yeah, that I think bringing that to life was really fun.
I see. So that's how you like about being that character. Because all I know is that the show Mobile Suit Gundam Seed has been going around, and Carrie Carnan bringing you in was a very cool thing.
Very cool.
But anyway, last question to ask you, but what's the most greatest thing when you got to be part of Welcome to Demon School Oroma Kun as Vapor?
Um, her thing is being a big crybaby. She cries a lot on the show, but then she cries and her tears become like her water power. And it's funny because she's supposed to be I forgot what it's called. It's been so long since I watched the show, but that group of mentors, all these people who have to teach the leads how to use powers and stuff, and she's supposed to be a leader, but she's always like she's like crying all the time. Um but that show was really fun. I mean, we recorded it at Bing Zoom. Everyone at Bing Zoom is freaking the best. Love them all. Um and like sort of balancing, you know, how to show she's crying a lot, but she's still powerful, and so like finding the balance between those two characteristics was my favorite part about working on that character.
I see. So that's what you like about playing that character. Because all I know is that you being part of it was just a very awesome thing right there. Plus, all I know is that the last thing I noticed is that in 2022 is that the third season came and the show never came up ever since. And it had me question, boy, does are they trying to finish the manga so that they can continue with the show there? And that's something I'm beginning to notice through others, like Comey Can't Communicate
Mm-hmm.
and many others I'm beginning to understand. So,
I have no idea. I mean, honestly, actors are one of the last people to find out. So it's like
and
the actors find out, and then the world will find out after. We're like
and
on the
but
bottom
and
of the
that's
totem pole.
I know. I'm just letting you know this simple
Mm-hmm.
fact. That way you understand what it is that I see with my own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, well, Courtney, it's such an honor to finally meet you right there, just like I did with Jennifer.
Thank you. It's an honor to meet you as well.
Of course.
Well, thank
And
you
if
again for having me as
Of
well.
course, if you ever see Jennifer around, tell her I said hello and that
I will.
hopefully I get to meet you and her in person in the near future when the time comes.
That'd be awesome.
Of course you will, because that's what we do best. And that's why I prefer to be flexible with everybody.
Awesome.
Thank you, my friend, and I'll see you around through social media. Yep,
Awesome. Thank you, my friend.
you too.
Bye.
Bye.